Hello and welcome to this webinar. I'm Weiser Cornell, and I find the topic of decisions just fascinating. Now I'm going to share my screen because I have a few slides I'd like to share with you about this. So the name of our webinar today is At the Crossroads, Finding Your Way to Calm, Clear Decisions. My point is going to be that decisions don't have to pull you apart. They can pull you together again. So the process of being with decisions in an aware, embodied way can actually give you more insight and awareness into yourself. So asking you right now, are you going through a time of transition? You know, it's funny. I used to go to networking meetings or parties, and I got tired of asking people, what do you do? So I started saying to people, so what transition are you going through right now? There wasn't anybody who wasn't able to answer that. Yes, I'm going through it. So I believe you probably are going through a time of transition, whether it's in your work, in your personal life, in your time of life, like perhaps moving into retirement. And what about that? What is that like to go through a time of transition? Surely there are more choices and decisions when we're in a time of transition. You might be aware that you're facing some big decisions that are hard to make, or maybe for you, all decisions are hard. That could be. That could be. And some of our present decisions are overshadowed by the possibility that there are past decisions that we regret. And so it becomes, for some of us, harder to make decisions in the present because I don't want to have that happen again. So decisions can be tough. Let's acknowledge that. Some decisions torment us. We could make the decision one way and then we doubt and second guess ourselves. Even a decision we've already made might still be hanging over us. Did I make the right choice? We go around in circles. That's unpleasant. Did you ever do this? Try making the list of pros and cons. I never found that helped. And what about the head versus the heart? Right? You want to make decisions from your head or your heart, and it feels like maybe your head and your heart are taking you in two different directions. And does that mean you want to make a decision logically or do you want to make it emotionally? But I don't think decisions should be made by either the head or the heart. So where should they be made? Well, we'll see. So I'm going to say that a time of decision is a time of opportunity. That makes sense, right? I remember when I was in college and my French teacher was talking to us about existentialism. And she said, existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre believe that it's when you make a decision, that's the only time you really have power over your life. Interesting, sort of great idea for a young 20-something person. I still feel it's true. Let's think of a decision as a time of opportunity because you're pulled in at least two different directions, and which is right? Or there might be a feeling that life isn't changing enough, that you're stagnating or stuck. And if only you could make a decision to change, life would be better. Now I'm going to stop this slideshow and just check in with you, check in with the chat, your reasons for being here, your sense of what decisions you're making. Margarita writes, I have a hard time making decisions sometimes. Robert writes, decisions are hard because different aspects of myself have different needs. It's a very good point. And Elizabeth writes, sometimes I don't like my decisions No, sometimes others don't like my decisions, even though I made the decision very carefully. And I find it hard that then I get, I would call it blowback from others. That does make sense. Yes. Catherine writes, I'm deciding when or even if I need to move into assisted living. That's a big transition. Definitely. And Lily writes, I've made poor decisions in the past, so something in me worries I'll make poor decisions again. That makes sense too. Carrie writes, I make decisions easily. So when I struggle, that seems unlike me, and I struggle with the incongruence. Huh. Interesting. And decisions, Lee writes, decisions are hard because it feels like it's leaving a possibility. So if you have two possibilities, they're still there. You go with one, you're leaving something, huh? Like there's a loss, a letting go of one of these options. That makes sense now. Yes. I have to make a decision. A part of me wants one way, a part of me is afraid of getting to a solution. Yes. And there is a lot of interest in my point about dealing with regrets. Let's do a process. Today's webinar, I'm not just going to talk about this. We're going to do one or two decision processes together. All right.
And thank you for your patience as I find my slides. And as I do, I want everybody to be thinking about a decision you'd like to be using for our exercise today. So it could be, if you've got a big decision, take that one. If you don't have a big decision, just take a decision. It might be what you're going to do this weekend. It might be what you're going to do for the holidays. In today's webinar, these are the three things we're going to get to. The secret to why some decisions are impossible to feel good about. We're going to work with finding what isn't right and what is right about either side of your choice. And then the big one, how to find your inner sense of rightness about either side of the decision and about the decision as a whole. Okay? So to start with, choose your decision. It could be a big one. If you don't have a big decision right now, you can take any decision for the sake of the exercise. You've already had a minute to sense what it is, so I'm going to go on. So now phrase your decision this way. Shall I? And that's option one. So shall I go visit my daughter for the holidays? Or shall I? And this option two could be, or shall I not? Or a different option. Or shall I pay for her and her family to come visit me? Or something else. So your decision is phrased with these different options. Shall I? Or shall I? Which might be, or shall I not? Or something else. Here's an example. Shall I retire this year? Or shall I stay in my job and cut back my hours? Or something else. So taking a moment just to find the form of your decision. How would you say it? Okay. So now, this is the secret to why some decisions are impossible to feel good about. This story is that I was teaching a class with my mentor, the amazing Gene Gendlin. And he said, if you can't decide between two choices, it's because neither one is right. Or I think he might have said, neither one is completely right. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's something so true about that. We wouldn't have a decision if either one was completely right. So start already acknowledging that there's something not right about both these sides. I feel like that gives me a lot of space. And then for each choice what is right. So let's take a moment with that, all right? So you have your two choices. Shall I this? Shall I that? And of course, there's a third category or something else. Take that first one and ask yourself, what's right about this? What's right about this? And what's not right about it? Why do I have reservations? Why is there any need to have any other choice here? What you're doing is not really calling on your logic, okay? So I know these sound like questions you could answer with your head, but I'd like you to come downstairs, as Gendlin used to say, come down in to the inner area of your body and let the feeling come. Somehow this is right. What's the feeling of that? And somehow this is not right. And what's the feeling of that? And sometimes all I can get at first is, I don't know. I don't know what's not right, but that is true that there's something not right about it. I will need more time to sense what that is, which is a perfectly legitimate answer. And it means that your body is already at work on this. The body's already in process about this. Because if you can already sense something isn't right, and that is my favorite word, the word something. You can already sense something isn't right. That's the doorway. The door hasn't opened yet, but that is the doorway. As you stay with it and sit with it, it will emerge more what isn't right. You could do the same thing with the other side. Take a moment right now to do that. So there's the other side, second choice, this or this. What's right about this second choice? What really feels right about it? And what doesn't feel right about it? And if I can't articulate this yet, can I at least say there's something right about this choice, and there's something not right? Just taking a little time with that. And already you may feel a difference between these two. One of the biggest decisions of my life was when I was very established in Chicago. I was 33 years old, very established. Gene Gendlin was there. He was my teacher. He was starting a community of people working with focusing. It was just at the beginning of all that. I had lots of friends. And my then husband wanted to move to San Francisco. And I said, go ahead. Go, feel free. We have that kind of marriage. You go. I'll stay here. We'll see what happens. He did. He went. And suddenly, as soon as he left, something felt wrong about the choice I'd made. But it was a big decision, big decision. So, but I felt a pain in my body. It was so distinct. I even went to a doctor. He said, no, there's nothing wrong with you physically. So I visualized myself here in Chicago, staying in Chicago, the life I would have there, and in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And the vision of me in Chicago was kind of gray. And the vision of me in California, the choice I did make, and here I am, and it was a very right decision after all, because I started my own focusing world out here. The vision of me in San Francisco was bright colored, and I could see my own face. And the other one, I couldn't even see my face. So the feel of each of these two choices is probably different. There's a different tone, there's a different quality. Taking a little time to be aware of that. Maybe write it down, describe it. And we're going to go on because I have another thing to show you, and I also want to tell you about my upcoming course. We're going to talk more about how to find your inner sense of rightness about either side of the decision. I'm also going to tell you, because I know many of you are interested in the course coming up. It's got the same name as this webinar, At the Crossroads, Finding Your Way to Calm, Clear Decisions. We will be bringing kindness and compassion to the whole process of decision making. We're going to strengthen the inner sense of rightness that can make any decision easier to make. We'll spend time with parts of you that are impatient or reluctant to make the decision. We'll learn how to hear and feel what each side is wanting for you. And we'll also have a time when we're going to work with shifting your regrets about past decisions that still haunt you. Because regrets can really haunt us, and that can actually change. And that's a 3-week course. It meets on November 29th, December 6th, December 13th. The course starts at 9:30 on 3 Wednesdays in a row. We'll meet for 2 hours on Zoom. It'll be a Zoom meeting, not a Zoom webinar. Basically, that means we can see each other rather than you having to only see me and talk to me by chat. And the registration will close in 1 week. So 1 week from today, that'll be your last chance to register for this course. So would anyone like to say in the chat what you've been noticing about this process we did so far? You got a sense of what's right and what's not right about each side of your decision. I like this process, and it gives me more wisdom to draw on. Not even the acknowledgement about there being a right answer. Oh, even just the acknowledgement about there not being a right answer lifts a lot of pressure, of course. And Alex writes, an appreciation for each of the choices without having to choose package 1 and package 2. That's nice. Yeah. But Robert writes, he feels panic about betraying one side for the other. That's what I was trying to help with when I said, you're not making the decision right now. I think it's really important when making a decision to put yourself in a zone where you agree, right now we're not making the decision. All I'm going to do is listen and be aware and sense. I'm not making the decision right now. Because first of all, now I'm going to make the decision puts a lot of pressure on you. And there's also this expectation that these are the choices, and therefore I'm going to choose one or the other. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think this process can result, and often does result, in another option, a third option that combines the two. I did move to California, but I only did it realizing that if I did, I needed a way to stay connected to the focusing community in Chicago. And because of that, I created a newsletter that became the first newsletter in the world of focusing and went on for 20 years. So there's something from the process of noticing what's right and what's not right that allows us to honor both sides. Bettina writes, I'm hesitant to apply for a dance course, but now visualizing how sad it would leave me if I'd missed the opportunity. So that's input into what you might choose. So Minna writes, clinging to one side, feeling like escaping from the other side, but I don't trust my feelings because I'm used to choosing something quickly and realizing later it wasn't a wise choice. Well, that's a good realization to have about yourself. It sounds like you like to make decisions more slowly. Nothing wrong with that. One of the things we do in the course is we notice there's more parts than just side A and side B about the decision. There's probably a part of you that hates decisions so much, it pushes you into making this quickly without even taking much time to sense what's right. So that's very interesting to spend time with, because that's a part that's worried about what will happen if you have to sit longer with a decision. So you can relate to the part that's pushing you into decision more quickly, and that can calm down. And then there's another part that's often here that says, no, I need to not make the decision because I'm afraid anything I choose will be wrong. So I'm just going to put it off and procrastinate and not do it. So there's the part that pushes you into it, and there's a part that pulls you back to it. And those parts are very valuable to spend some time with, because they also have things they are worried about and care about you. KJ writes, there was nothing right about the first choice except doing what an authority figure recommended. But it would be a dishonoring my inner knowing. That sounds like a very valuable thing to discover. So yes, can we trust our feelings? Not exactly. What I call the inner sense of rightness, a kind of inner knowing, is not just your emotions. Emotions have a lot of importance. Emotions connect us with what we care about, and they connect us to other people, and they connect us to the situations in our life. But to trust them to make decisions might not be a good idea. There is something that's not emotional, but also is not logical and rational. That's what I mean by the inner sense of rightness. And it helps if you can remember a time when you just knew that something was right and you did it, and people were surprised. I mean, it could be as simple as calling someone because you just knew you needed to, you had to, and they said, oh, how did you know I needed a call from you right now? That is a kind of intuition, but I also think it's a kind of tuning in to a larger awareness, because our heads actually take up not very much space. Our body mind has an attunement to the whole situation that we're in. It includes other people, and so on. And that inner knowing, it can be cultivated. It starts by just being aware, going into different situations and saying, do I have a knowing here? And that's one of the opportunities that decisions give us. They're an opportunity to practice tuning in to my inner knowing. And the exercise we did already, we're about to do another one. The exercise we did already was where we sensed what's right and what's not right. And so this question, what's right and what's not right, is an invitation to the inner sense of rightness. You may have, many of us went through times in our early life that took us in the other direction, where we were punished or we were in danger for following our inner sense of rightness. So the inner sense of rightness gets quieted, it gets smothered, it gets covered up. So it's a re-emergence of your inner sense of rightness as you're now living in a life where you have more space and scope to trust yourself. So I want to do another process with you about your decision. So before we said, shall I? But now I want to say, something in me wants. So I'm writing this in the chat right now instead of showing you a slide. Something in me wants option A, and something in me wants option B. So let's do a little process together. Pausing to feel your body, and that includes starting with feeling your body's contact on what you're sitting on. Feel your feet, feel your seat, your back, feel your breathing. And let your awareness come into the inner area of your body. That includes your throat, your chest, stomach, belly. And remember your decision. Let it come down in here. It started with, shall I this or shall I that? You've already started sensing what feels right, what doesn't feel right about each choice. You can recall all that right now. Now, try saying, something in me wants option A. Something in me wants to go in that direction. See if that feels true. I think some of you discovered that there wasn't anything in you that wanted that. But does it feel true? Does it still feel true? This is still a choice for me because something in me wants option A. Or change the language if you need to. It might be something in me thinks I should choose option A. Whatever works for you. And something in me wants or thinks I should choose option B. Something in me thinks I should be prepared in case I have to choose option B. Whatever works for you. And now invite a relationship with each of those parts of you. So say hello to something in you that wants option A. I say hello to that. Say hello to something in you that wants option B. Now, what this requires is this no decision zone. Like, I'm not going to make this decision right now. I'm going to make a safe space where my different parts and sides can each feel free to want what they want because I'm a neutral listener. I'm not making this decision. Not right now. So I'm here to listen. Sensing which one needs to go first. Which one really wants to tell you more about what it wants you to be able to experience from taking the decision in that direction. This is about the feel of what it wants for you. So sensing, I want to invite you to let me know what you want for me to be able to experience or feel. What positive feelings, positive life situation you're hoping that I experience or feel by going in that direction. It takes a little time just to let it in. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to choose that direction, but I do acknowledge there is something positive that side wants for me. Maybe it wants me to feel protected and safe. Maybe it wants me to feel warm, supported. Maybe it wants me to feel stimulated and excited. Maybe it wants me to feel love and connection to others. Whatever it is, I agree, that would be a good thing. And I'm feeling some of it already. Now we can go to the other side. And I know this is going kind of fast. You do this on your own, you can take longer with each side. What it wants, this is the one that wants the other option, what it wants for me to be able to feel if I go in that direction. So they're not arguing right now. We don't want them to argue right now about you should do this, you should do that. We're just talking about what they want for you from making that choice. Wants me to feel stimulated, wants me to feel peaceful, wants me to feel connected. What is it? And pausing to sense. And the two things these side want for you, it is possible to feel both of those at the same time. So although we don't know yet what the ideal choice will be, we do know this is how it would feel. Like the body is a touchstone. We want it to feel. It includes what each side has been wanting for you. So I'm hoping you did not make your decision because this is a process. And I hope you take this with you and continue to ask yourself, what's right about each side? What's not right about each side? What does each side want for me? And take time to just feel in your body that wanted feeling without having to go one way or the other. So thank your body and let it know we want this process to continue. And I wanted to just respond to a few more of the questions that were in the chat. Hensi was writing, the decision to do nothing feels right for now, but it leads to a new decision, the timing of when. Yeah, that's the thing about decisions. They often lead to more decisions. Margarita asks, how do you know when it's your intuition versus your ego? Well, those aren't my terms, but I understand what you mean. I would say, how do I know it's my inner sense of rightness and not a part of me talking? Because when we get taken over by parts of us, we're not operating on the wisdom of our whole self. And I remember when I look at the decisions in the past that I regret, they were all times that I got taken over by a part of me that was scared, anxious, or desperate. That's a very interesting way to work with your regrets, your past decisions that you regret, is what state was I in when I made that decision? And not in a blaming way. You can also say, what resource was I missing when I made the decision in that way? But so my point is that if we're taken over by a part, which my interpretation of what Margarita means by ego, we will not make as good decisions. We need to be in touch with the inner sense of rightness, which is more the whole self, the calm whole self, the self that isn't attached to one outcome or another. They feel different. The whole self in a calm state of presence has this quality of openness, a relaxed quality. It feels smooth. It feels grounded, present, open. When you're identified with a part that's narrowing your choices, it feels actually anxious, tight, condensed, constricted. So the difference in feeling is how I would tell the difference between where I want to make the decision from and where I don't want to make the decision from. And someone asked if I can speak more about the shutting down of inner knowing. I think you know what I mean, right? If you're in most of these challenging situations happened in our early life, in families or in schools, when we wanted to act on an inner sense of rightness and we were shamed or punished for it and told we had to do differently or feel differently. And one of the choices we often make in situations like that is to really not listen anymore to our own inner sense of rightness. Just really, it's safer to follow the outer voices, as my friend Helene Brenner calls them. And we forgive ourselves for that because it was a way to stay safe. And now you're in a safer situation outside, so you can begin to reawaken and call up again your inner sense of rightness. And at first, it may be a little rusty and creaky, but it's still there. It never goes away. Oh, Lily writes that she really likes my point about a regret for a decision made in the past. We don't have to call it a poor decision or a stupid decision or a wrong decision. We can say that the me that's younger than I am now, the younger me who made that decision, was missing some resource. Somebody who could have calmly said, oh, let's think about this together. Can I give you a moment? That would have been so nice. It's usually that I didn't take time. That's why I'm a big fan of taking time. It's very rare that your decision has to be made right now. You can always take a little time. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Take care. Nice to see you. Enjoy your decisions. They have richness for you. Bye for now.